All right, Miles, let's talk USC Trojans here for a little bit. Look, the Trojans have been in the news a lot this offseason for a lot of the right reasons. Of course, Caleb Williams coming back. This team is locked and loaded for a monster season. They made a lot of big moves in the recruiting game and the transfer portal as well. And that leads us into the huge news out of Southern Cal about a massive move the Trojans managed to pull off to maybe be the final piece they need to get them back in the college football playoff.
Yeah, Nick, and Trojans, they are looking to make some big moves, and I think they've made a lot of big moves on the defensive side of the ball to kind of help them out in a kind of lackluster defense as per last year. But when we talk about defense, I want to go back in time here for a second and ask the Trojans fans to think, who has been your favorite Trojan defender of all time? There's been a lot of really great ones, and I want to know in the comments below, who's your favorite Trojan defensive player of all time. But nonetheless, Nick, who is the latest defender to move into Trojan territory?
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, Miles. Is of course the Trojans' area of need, of course, is defense. That's what betrayed them last season. They've been very active in that regard. We've talked about it with some other stories so far this offseason, and that trend has continued as the Trojans pull off maybe the transfer portal move of the season. This was reported by Hayes Fawcett over at On3 Sports. If you want to go ahead and throw out the report, Miles. Breaking former Georgia defensive lineman Bear Alexander has committed to USC. The 6'3", 305-pound D lineman chose the Trojans over Miami, Texas, and others. Alexander was the top available player in the transfer portal rankings and will have 3 years of eligibility remaining. All right, Miles, it goes without saying that the USC Trojans, we've said this in a bunch of videos, they need help on defense. Alex Grinch, the much maligned defensive coordinator, needs all the talent he can get to hopefully be just good enough so that way this Caleb Williams-led offense can lead this team back to the college football playoff. I think getting a guy like Alexander is just kind of a perfect fit, just another layer to this defense, another disruptive force, make some negative plays, get teams in those second and third and long situations that will allow this Trojan defense to get off the field because they only need 1 or 2 stops a game with that high-powered offense to basically run the table with their schedule. So again, getting a guy who can make some negative plays like Bear Alexander can, I think is a perfect fit for Grinch and company over that Southern Cal defense. This is a huge move by Lincoln Riley getting this commitment. Give me your thoughts on this massive transfer portal move by the USC Trojans and what do you think it'll do for them in the future?
Yeah, Nick, first of all, excellent defensive lineman name, Bear Alexander.
Awesome
You
defensive
know
line.
he's got to be good with a name like that, destined for greatness. But Nick, this guy has been great ever since he stepped on the field. And some people might see this as a fault. I see it as, a level of maturity, a level of being able to move and fit into schemes very easily. This is a guy who is not uncommon to transferring schools a lot. He went to 5 different high schools while he was in the state of Texas. And each time he went, when he was able to play, he made an immediate impact. His freshman year, he became the defensive 5A newcomer of the year. Sophomore year, wasn't able to play. His junior season, he led his team to a Class 5A Division State Championship, so that's good. Then finally, he went to IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. Everyone knows how good of a powerhouse that school is at getting top-tier players and developing for the next level, and he was able to do well down there as well. So I think this guy is a really, really great player. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table, and my point in bringing all that up is going from Georgia, transferring to Southern Cal, I don't think it's going to take him too long to get used to the scheme because he's used to changing schemes. He can fit right in. He's just a plug-and-play type of player, and he's an absolute beast of a defensive lineman, already so young. He's like 6'2 and a half, 315 pounds, just, dare I say it, a bear of a man. So I think this guy is, just truly a really great addition to this Southern Cal defense. It kind of needs some grittiness. It kind of needed some toughness. And a guy like Bear Alexander, coming from that Georgia defense, is bringing exactly that. And I think this is going to help out Grinch and company tremendously coming into next season.
Yeah, you brought up a great point about the fact that he moved a lot, with different high schools during his high school playing career, and that should definitely benefit him in the transfer. Because I think that's transfer portal. Because I think one of the things that we forget when we hear about these guys transferring, we just kind of assume they'll have big impacts right away. And we've seen it so far, looking at these spring games of different programs. Guys come in as transfers; they're big name guys, going to revitalize certain programs. And they really seem to struggle. They're struggling to find their bearings. They're not performing well during spring ball. And look, it's just because it's a change, different coaches, different players, different college, different town, different weather, all kind of stuff. All those those kind of factors change. And that's hard for a lot of players, especially if they're used to more stable environments. Alexander, like you alluded to, Mice, has moved around a lot in high school. He's familiar with that kind of change. He did it, I think, 5 times you said, which is absolutely ridiculous. So going from Georgia to Los Angeles to play for the USC Trojans program, I think will not be as big of an adjustment as it potentially could have been. And that's huge because they really need immediate short-term impacts. It's great he has 3 years of eligibility left, so he's got a chance to play a lot of football, at least 2 seasons if he wants to go pro early for the Trojans. But at bare minimum, they're going to have a guy who's mentally prepared to step on the field and contribute in some way very early on. And that's exactly what they need to make sure they're the team they need to be to make it to the college football playoff.